And we've been owned, brothers and sisters. Even as Christians, we've bought into things. We've listened to teachers that sounded good, but when you really checked out their doctrine, it didn't work, or you looked at them and there was some kind of error going on, and we get owned every once in a while, and it smarts. I mean, it hurts a little bit. I have to admit, I don't like being chumped. If you're a pastor, it goes along with the territory. It's a big pill to swallow, but you get chumped every once in a while, and and when you get chumped, it's because somebody wasn't dealing equally. They were on a different level. It's like when husbands and wives fight. I'm sorry, they don't fight. It's like when husbands and wives have intense fellowship. Okay? Who now nobody ever wins. Okay, in the reality of it all, both lose. But the one who wins the argument is the one who uses mean tactics. Because if you fight fair, you lose. So you have to reach somewhere else for some ammunition, and it's usually in the area that the other spouse won't go to. And so that spouse then wins because it's not fair. Well, listen, Satan doesn't fight fair. Okay? This deception, the whole conference in a nutshell has been about deception. Recognizing it, where it is, what to do about it. And this message is going to go down the same road. But what this message, I hope, will do, will show us the extent of deception and the devastating effect it has on our lives. And we can sit back and put our foot down and say, yeah, but that's not going to happen to me. It already did. You just proved that it already did. The minute we stand up against deception and say, as Peter, no, Lord, it's not going to be that way, we've lost. We need to humble ourselves in the sight of the Lord. We need to, here is John the Baptist, who makes a statement that is just phenomenal, that he, John the Baptist, wasn't even worthy to untie the Lord's shoes. He wasn't worthy to untie his shoes. That's pretty low. But he didn't sit there and go, I'm not even worthy to untie his shoes. He's like, I'm not even worthy to untie Jesus' shoes. He humbled himself in the sight of the Lord. And if we're ever going to go anywhere and overcome the deception that is everywhere, I mean, it is every. Do you know that the clothing industry every year gets together, all the clothiers or whatever they call those people, and they get together, I don't want to say in a smoke-filled room. This is true. I read an article on an airplane. They get together once a year, and they plan the colors for the next year. They plan the colors of the clothing the next year. See, you think, oh, yeah, that's your color. No, they've deceived you into liking that color. You have no choice. And things are being done all around us all the time to deceive us. And we don't need to get upset about it, but we need to recognize it. See, we need to know over in 1 John chapter 4, we're told about seducing spirits and doctrines of devils, and we're told about the spirit of error and the spirit of truth. And the spirit of error comes across so nice. It's got a three-piece suit on. It probably has a big church. It has a great following, and people just worship it no matter what. The spirit of error could shoot somebody dead in front of 1,000 people, and 999 would say, well, that person probably deserved it. It's easy. Now, real quick, I know I didn't convince anybody here, but I did a message a long time ago, and I took a banana, I took an apple, I took an orange, and I made up some wild stories about the banana, the apple, and the orange. I talked about where they came from, how their names were changed, and that the banana wasn't the banana, the orange wasn't the orange, the apple wasn't the apple. And in 45 minutes, I just made up everything. There wasn't a hair of truth to anything in this message. And I know I didn't convince anybody in the church. I know I didn't convince anybody in the church, as I looked at your faces as I was giving this message, that you weren't sitting there thinking, is the orange really a banana? And the banana, was it really the apple? And those names got changed. 45 minutes. Everything was a lie. And I did that just to try and prove, and I know nobody bought into it here, okay? But I did that just to prove how easy it is to be deceived. Because the very second we think we're not deceived or we can't be deceived, we're already deceived. And look at Peter. I mean, here we were close to Calvary, and Jesus comes to Peter. He stops him. He said, Simon, Simon, Satan has desired to have you, to sift you as wheat. And Peter did go off the wrong way. None of us are above deception. And we get out there. Many people know John Hagee. Many people have followed him for years. I've listened to a lot of his messages. And you just think that somebody who's been in the pulpit a long time, as a somewhat, fundamentalist type of teacher, a little off here and there, but who isn't? Okay? Well, I'm not, but maybe others are. And Mr. Hagee just wrote a book called In Defense of Israel. And he states that Jesus never claimed to be the Messiah. And I'm thinking, it must be a joke. I actually thought this was like I was going to read the next day that, that he did like I did with the banana and the orange and the apple. Okay? And that the Jews were not instrumental in putting Jesus on the cross. That was a conspiracy between the Sanhedrin and Rome. Well, that's not true. And 4 times specifically, Jesus said that he was the Messiah, in addition to fulfilling how many prophecies he fulfilled just by his very existence of coming on the scene. He proved he was the Messiah. And Mr. Hagee believes this now. Now, how can this man get so deceived so fast? I'm not slamming John Hagee. What the Lord showed me is how serious deception is. Because if this can happen to him, what could happen to me? That's the first thing. The Lord just quickened it. I mean, I thought, well, I have to admit, I did think no fool like an old fool. But I instantly looked back at myself and thought to myself, if this man of his stature and his church and being what he did for so long and having such dynamite messages, if he can be so deceived into denying that Jesus came for his people, for his own people, what can happen to me? We got to keep close to the Lord. He got away from the Lord somehow. Somewhere, he made an agreement, something. I'll be honest with you, it doesn't scare me, but I am concerned. Well, I'm scared, but I'm not, quaking, but it bothers me a lot. Because, we're told in the end times that some are going to depart from the faith. And it doesn't say that Jesus is going to depart from those in the faith. It says that some are going to depart from the faith, giving heed to seducing spirits and doctrines of devils, having their conscience seared. And you have to make an agreement with something to do that. That's scary. What in the world did he make an agreement with? Could have been those rabbis, or maybe it was. Maybe it was those rabbis in Israel. Because he believes in a dual covenant. Jews have one salvation. Christians have another one. That's not true. We all go down the same road. There's only one name under heaven in which a person can be saved, Jesus Christ. So over in Revelation 12, verse 7, there was a war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought against the angels, and prevailed not. Neither was their place found any more in heaven. The serpent prevailed not. And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent, called the devil and Satan, which deceives the whole world. And he was cast out into the earth, and his angels, demons, were cast out with him. This is our adversary.